Honestly, after understanding how cold it is in Canada, I feel like I could never complain about British weather ever again. Hey guys, it's model making time. Today we're looking at the CF-100, which was an all-weather interceptor developed by Avro Canada. The CF-100 was developed in order to meet Canada's requirement for an all-weather interceptor fighter. Canada, of course, has some of the harshest environments on the planet, so it had to be able to withstand the elements, but also be able to react quickly and effectively to aerial intrusion. Belgium would also operate the type, being the only international customer of the CF-100 Canuck, or as it's affectionately known as the Clunk. The aircraft itself was pretty exceptional for its time and would go on to lead the development of the CF-105 Arrow, the famously cancelled Canadian jet project. As usual, if you want a full history of any Canadian aircraft, I recommend Polyus Studios. The link will be in the description because they did a documentary on the CF-100 and frankly it's amazing. I always go into some history of the aircraft, but I don't want to go into a full history because I feel like Polyus did such a good job that really you should go check out their video. Obviously, please leave a comment in their video and just let them know that MsModeller sent you, of course. So the aircraft was originally introduced in 1952 and wouldn't leave service until 1981. That's a pretty long lifespan for aircraft of that time. Bear in mind, this was the earliest era of jets, the late 1940s, early 1950s. And it survived. There's not many aircraft that can really claim that, bar things like, the Hawker Hunter. But I mean, that thing had a ridiculously long lifespan. And I guess the Canberra too. There are some exceptions, of course. But still, to survive 30 years is pretty impressive. Think of the lifespan of things like, the Swift or the Seahawk. Hell, there are countries that have had the Eurofighter for less time than Canada had the Canuck. So let that sink in for a minute. The model we're building today is from Hobbycraft, or as we've said before, affectionately known as Hobbycraft Canada. We have built a Hobbycraft Canada kit before. We built a CT-114 built by Canada, which was the amount of the Snowbirds display team, or as of recording, still is the amount of the Snowbirds display team. Whilst I was doing a live stream building the CF-100 originally, someone did enter the chat and explain to me that the company is definitely defunct, and it seems like some of the molds may have headed over to South Korea. There was a release done after the Canadian branch of Hobbycraft Canada had shut, but really it remains unclear what's happened to this brand. If anyone has any information on what's happened to this brand, leave it in the comments below. It'd be really interesting to see what's happened. Also, heading down to the comments as well, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell in order to make sure that you're notified of new videos. I also stream building these models too, and occasionally might be doing some War Thunder and stuff as well. Before we go into the unboxing, let's just remember that Hobbycraft Canada kits tend to be more obscure subjects that perhaps other manufacturers haven't touched. In fact, I don't think another manufacturer has touched the CF-105 Arrow, the CF-100 Canuck, or the CT-114 Cheetah. That means these kits can get pretty pricey. Of course, that means we have to deal with too, because, I'm never going to be able to build this model again, and if I do get up, then I've got no one to blame but myself, and I can't really do a lot about my replacement parts. If I do it wrong, then that's it. Either way, let's go have a look at the unboxing I did on stream. Boom. CF-100. So this is from Hobbycraft yet again, or Hobbycraft as they're affectionately known in the modelling community. Canadian manufacturer making a Canadian aircraft. The CF-100, the Canuck, which was a all-weather interceptor, or chasseur tout clément, as it says here. And it's in 1/72 scale. They did make a 1/48 scale version of this kit as well. I don't know anything about that one. We have information about it here. Obviously this is in French, the English version is the other side. So if you do want to read that, just give it a little pause. It's probably slightly out of focus, but it should be enough for you to read. So just looking at this, let's have a look inside. These tend to go for around £30 or £40 at the moment. You tend to find them at model shows for significantly cheaper, but eBay, they have that high price. To be honest, these days it's not even that high a price. It is quite a rare kit. It's not as bad as the CT-114 Cheetah though. Decals look okay. I really wanted to build a Belgian version because there's a Belgian version of this aircraft. Unfortunately, I didn't get that one. I couldn't get it for a reasonable price. I got this for about £11. But yeah, it looks fine. I'll look nice next to my CT-114 anyway. Instructions. Let's just have a quick look at them. It's like one long thing. Can make a really interesting kit with this actually, I think. It's quite a big aircraft though, it's a big old thing. Now that's the important part, looking at the parts. We've got like 2 sprues that seem to deal with the actual like aircraft itself. Put that way. So yeah, 2 sprues that seem to deal with like the actual aircraft, the fuselage. They're not the worst I've seen. Some of the Matchbox ones I've had were very interesting. But they're not, and the old Airfix ones, Jesus. But it's not like great, you know? And then we've got like 1 sprue which is fuel tanks and more fuel tanks maybe. The seats look pretty good though, considering this sort of kit. That doesn't look half bad. No, do I not have canopy glass? I haven't just thrown it away, have I? Oh, it's here, I think. Oh, that terrified me. Nearly threw this away, but we've got the canopy here. Quality, obviously I normally give them a rating out of 10. I'm going to go ahead and say 5. It's very middle of the road. It's not fully glass like transparency. It looks really, really kind of quality wise. Well, that's the unboxing done. Let's get into the manufacture of this kit. Now, I do want to point one thing out. I did lose one of the clear parts. There were only 2, so, you know, I'm not doing well on the clear parts for this kit, but it was the least important one. It was just a windscreen that divides the 2 elements of the cockpit, so it was nothing too major, and to be honest, I feel like most people won't notice it anyway, but I thought I'd point that out. Anyway, let's get into the construction. Okay, so construction of the CF-100, and it's relatively straightforward to be honest. Now, I did start with the cockpit, and I mean, that's pretty normal in any model kit, as we all know. The CF-100, it has some detail in the cockpit, but it's very minimal. So if you were looking to build sort of the super extra detailed set that you wanted to, I'd probably suggest getting sort of like seats and perhaps cockpit details from another kit, perhaps a photo etch detailing set for a similarly configured aircraft. Off the top of my head, I can't really think what that would be. Obviously the ejector seats are going to be fairly standards, but for things like the cockpit and stuff, I don't know, if you're really skilled at hand painting, you could probably hand paint the detail in that you need. Now you can see it all sort of sits in a bathtub, and I'm adding some weight to the front now. The weight in mine ended up getting quite loose, which is very unfortunate, because now if I sort of tip the model back, it will tail set. But it's okay. Everything does sort of sit at its front at the end, so it's not the end of the world. Rare for me, but I didn't paint the cockpit at first. I actually did this at the end, and I pretty much just did black. There wasn't a lot to the cockpit, and so I personally made the decision that it wasn't worth my time doing a lot more for it. The aircraft is so big that I'm not looking at the cockpit if I'm looking at this aircraft, if I'm really honest. So that was just a personal choice. The construction of the kit is interesting in the sense that you put together, as you can see, the wings pretty normally, but you do have to put the wing tanks or the fuel tanks at the end, which they're quite fragile, so be careful with them. They do only have like a small slot they go into, but the rear section you have to sort of glue on as well, which I think is quite unusual for this style of kit. Normally the fuselage comes as one long thing, and I think I can only think of a few kits such as like the de Havilland Vampire where it might come separately. I'll be honest, I'm kind of curious why they made this decision. Obviously they've had to mold the whole kit like this. Now I feel like, and this is probably a long shot, it was done for box sizing, because when you're buying retail space, I guess you buy it by sort of the size of your product, and if they have one standardized size or shape, then I guess logistically it makes sense, but I don't know, it feels really, really odd. Like, it just seems a pointless extra step. I don't really understand why they did it, but it is what it is. It didn't really add anything extra. It's probably not ideal for beginners who might not understand how the glue works, because it obviously droops quite a lot, but hey ho. You can see the exhaust on the back of the aircraft as well, or it might be an air intake, I can't quite remember. That though, I got advice from people on stream. to make sure it was in the right place. So that was really helpful. Thank you guys on stream. The aircraft itself has been sprayed silver with Humbrol spray can silver. However, I did end up painting over the whole kit in Revell silver because I mess up this black really badly. Now, I decided to practice straight lines. It was a bit improvised, but I just thought, you know what, I need to learn how to paint straight lines better. And that's what this is going to be. This is going to be the project where I try and practice straight lines, get my, like, brushmanship, I guess, up to sort of a better standard. And it didn't go badly. There are definitely some areas where you can tell that I've done that. But I don't think, like, if you walked past it, I think you wouldn't necessarily notice. I think to a model maker, they'll definitely notice, but I think to a general person, they might not. And I was originally going to try and not paint the whole thing silver, that's why you can see me wipe it off. But in the end, I messed it up several times that I just went, you know what, screw it, I'll just repaint the whole thing silver. I was concerned that it wouldn't match because the one you get out of the spray can gives you this amazingly gloss metallic finish. The one I painted on didn't. But once I sort of painted it over a couple of times and I put a gloss on at the end after I've done all the decals, I don't think it looks that bad. So I don't know. I bought the spray because it's going to be easier for like older style kits that I have to do, but I'm not sure. Also, the colours it says are aluminium or silver, they give you slightly different colours, so I'm not sure entirely which one it was meant to be. I went with silver because normally if it mentions silver, it wants a silver rather than just aluminium, but who really knows. There were some other details put into the cockpit as well, paint-wise, but other than that, it was decals. Now, let's talk about these decals. So the footage is a bit mishmash because I sort of forgot to record some bits, so I apologise. But my Hobbycraft CT114 tutor, the decals fell apart, they didn't come off properly, it was a mess. These ones, for some reason, were mostly fine. What I had to do, though, was peel them off the backing sheet. Mostly. Some of them did slide off, and I think I had to leave them in extra long for it to do that, and that's what I learned by the end. But initially I was so scared of trying to move them that I just decided to try and peel them off, and that worked in the end. So that was absolutely fine. So the decals seem absolutely fine. They are quite thick, they're not the best quality in the world, but the fact they work, it's kind of shocked me considering the experience I had last time. I'm not massively sad with what happened last time because at the end of the day, it actually taught me a really handy skill and taught me how to mask off and be a lot more confident. But I'm just surprised these worked. And again, I think all of the parts I had for this were sealed, so I don't know whether that's the reason why, whether Hobbycraft seem to just not last as well, because I've used really old Airfix ones before and they've been pretty much fine. So I'm not too sure in that. Either way, I got all the decals on and you know what? I think they look pretty sharp, and I'm really impressed with the vibrancy of the Canadian roundels. They look beautiful, so vibrant, so sharp. They really do pop off against like the base silver and black that you have. I think there were some extra colours I was perhaps meant to paint, but they weren't on the instructions necessarily, or it was unclear whether or not they should be there, so I ultimately would just, you know, just decide against them. But yeah, that was pretty much it. There were definitely some challenges with this kit, and I'd learned a lot doing the CT114, you know, doing an older kit, doing the Hobbycraft Canada kit, so I feel like I didn't do too bad. Well, now you've seen the whole thing. What do you think? Okay, some obvious points. I haven't done inks on this model, and I'll be honest with you, a lot of that was because, again, I can't really redo this kit. I was really happy with how some of the details have come out, and who knows, maybe in the future when I'm a lot more confident with inks, I'll go back and add in some inking to it to give it some more depth. I'm aware my model probably looks quite flat and factory fresh, I guess would be the phrase to use, but there's not really a lot I can do about that right now. I don't want to touch it, I don't want to break it for the fear of getting something wrong. I'd rather have a model that I'm proud of and I'm happy to have on my shelf than one that I break and get very upset about the fact that I wasted day. It's a toss-up. And I mean, if you're watching this video, you know I'm not the best model maker in the world. I am, as I've quite happily proclaimed, an average model maker, showing people that you can make nice models without perhaps having the expertise that a lot of people think you have to have. I'm proud of this kit, I'm proud of how it looks, and I'm quite happy with it. I feel like it'll look great next to my Patrouille de France set, which, you know, they are more weathered because the aircrafts are generally more widely available. Going forward, I think I'm gonna have to start taking more risks. Maybe that's what 2022 will be all about for me, is taking more risks on the models and doing more weathering and inking, because I started doing that at the end of the year and I think I've let push me back to being a lot more safe with my model kits. Either way, I hope you've enjoyed this video on the CF-100 Canuck, or the Clunk as it was affectionately known, in 1/72 scale for Hobbycraft Canada. If you like what you've seen here, feel free to head over to my website www.MsModeller.com to check out articles where I've reviewed model kits and done sort of a more in-depth sometimes write-up of what we've done in these videos. Though I would say they work in tandem with each other, you know, the videos and the articles. You'll probably see some more pictures over that too. So if you wanted to have a look at my kit in more detail, then that's probably the place to do it. Please make sure you hit subscribe, it really does help me out, and hit the notification bell if you want to be notified of every video that I put up on Mondays at 7:30 and, you know, when I go live, because I might be doing that some more with non-model making stuff like War Thunder or Flight Simulator, or maybe IL2, who knows. The future is ours, guys. Welcome to 2022. Love you all, bye! Thanks for watching the video, I really appreciate it. Hit the subscribe button and notification bell to be notified of every new video on Mondays. You'll also be able to see me stream live on YouTube. Thanks again, I really appreciate it. Have fun modelling!